The Persona series started all the way back in September of 1996 when Megami Ibunroku Persona released in Japan. Persona is one of the most well-regarded JRPG series in the world, and some of its titles are some of the most critically acclaimed out there on your favorite gaming consoles. 25 years later, we've seen 5 numbered mainline titles with enhanced re-releases, ports, and countless spin-offs to multiple platforms. As a newcomer, all of this may seem very overwhelming, so today I am here to give you a suggested playing order and to give you a clear idea of where you should start with the Persona series. I will also suggest which version to play on which platform to make sure that you have the most enjoyable experiences possible when jumping in. My name is David. This YouTube channel is fully dedicated to JRPGs, Atlas, Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, so if you're into that kind of stuff and you're new, make sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell, and most importantly, drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Here are my picks for the best place to start with the awesome Persona series. The game that I think is the best game to start with in the series is Persona 4. Persona 4 easily is the most accessible game in the series. The original game came out on the PlayStation 2 in 2008, and it aged like fine wine. The game got a re-release in 2012 on the PlayStation Vita as Persona 4 Golden, a version that added a bunch of quality of life improvements, a new character, new social links, and a bunch of other additions such as new endings and difficulty levels. Most people in the fanbase consider P4G the definitive way to play Persona 4. A 2012 PlayStation Vita game may not be accessible to you all, but this is not an issue as the game got a re-release in June of 2020 on the PC. This version of the game runs flawlessly and has all the content that the Vita version offers. If you don't have a Vita or are simply not a fan of handheld play, this is your go-to. Unfortunately, on the day of recording this video, the game is still not playable on modern gaming consoles like the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5, but hopefully Atlas delivers with the upcoming 25th anniversary announcements. Persona 4 is a fantastic game to start with for the Persona series as it's super easy to get into. The story is completely independent from the others in the series. All the characters are unique and very charming. The gameplay is simple but deep enough for any RPG enjoyer to get into. The game is beginner friendly, and since it's a fairly long RPG, the game delivers its different features to the player in a very user-friendly way that won't make the player feel overwhelmed right at the start while playing. Most of the gameplay mechanics that are still used in the Persona series to this day originated from Persona 4. In this game, you'll learn about the fusion system, social links, the calendar system, and the infamous battle system from the later games in the series. The overall length of the game isn't too bad either. As a newcomer, you should be able to beat the game in more or less 80 hours. This may seem like a lot to some of you all listening, but this is actually on the shorter side of things in terms of the Persona series. My second pick for a great place to start with Persona would be its latest installment, Persona 5. Persona 5 easily is the second most accessible game in the series as it released on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 in 2016 for Japan and a year later in 2017 for the West. The game got an enhanced version with a ton of new content exclusively to the PlayStation 4 in 2019 in Japan and once again a year later in the West. This version of the game is called Persona 5 Royal. Once again, Royal is considered the definitive version of the game for most people out there in the fanbase. Visually, there's no debate. Persona 5 is the best looking game in the series. To a lot of people, it simply is the best game in the series. In terms of reviews and critics, it is definitely the better game. Why is it my second pick, you'll ask? While Persona 5 has a very solid tutorial, I think it lacks the simplicity and quick charm that Persona 4 offers. In P4, you're put right into the story and it grabs you from the get-go. On the other hand, Persona 5 has a multiple hour-long tutorial and tries to shove most of its mechanics down the player's throat during the first couple of hours of the game. I've seen some people drop the game after more or less 5 hours because they felt overwhelmed. This certainly won't happen if you start with 4. That being said, Persona 5 explains its different mechanics very well to the player, and its enhanced re-release, Persona 5 Royal, offers a bunch of quality of life improvements and features that will make the player's journey way more enjoyable than to most people. Just like Persona 4, the characters, story, and gameplay will make you fall in love with the stories right away. Persona 5 is way longer than Persona 4. The vanilla version of the game will take you around 100 hours to complete, and if you go for the royal version of the game with a ton of new content, you need to sit down for a couple of additional hours, that's for sure. This may be a turn off to certain people and maybe not to others, but I still felt the need to mention it. Overall, I would say Persona 5 and Persona 4 are two very good places to start, and whether you start with 4 or 5, you'll have a good time and you'll definitely get into the series with either one of those. I simply have a small preference for Persona 4, and it is my #1 pick for the series. As you may have noticed, Persona 1, 2, and 3 are not on my list. They're not games that I suggest starting with in terms of the Persona series. These games are fantastic and absolutely worth your time. They just are not as newcomer friendly, in my opinion, as the games that I mentioned. If your eyes were set on one of these for your first game in the series, hear me out, as I will explain why I chose not to put them on my list so you can make a decision for yourself. This video is sponsored by Dragon City. Dragon City is a free-to-play mobile game available on both Android and iOS devices. You can collect over 1,000 different dragons and build your own dragon empire. There is a ton of fun things to do in the game. You can breed 2 dragons together to get new ones, hatch them, feed them, and make them evolve to your heart's content. You can also train your dragons to take them into battle to make them as powerful as ever. Of course, PvP is part of this game. Multiple player versus player modes are available whether you feel like fighting against your friends or other dragon masters across the globe using online play. Click the link in the description below and get a special free reward of 15,000 food, 30,000 gold, and 10 gems to start your adventure in the right direction. This reward is available for new players only and for the next 7 days after this video goes live. I tried Dragon City myself, and I have to say that this game is a fun time when you're out of your house, away from your large RPGs that we all know and love. Thanks to Dragon City for sponsoring this video. I think the worst ones to start with would probably be Persona 2, the duology. Persona 2's full story is divided into 2 games, Innocent Sin and its sequel, Eternal Punishment. Those 2 games are far from accessible in modern days, except if you opt for the emulation route. The games are on PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 1, and on certain digital stores, but that's pretty much it. They were never re-released. But the real reason why I don't think they are a great place to start is in terms of gameplay. Persona 2 has a very rough gameplay style. Whether it's the dungeon designs or the combat system, it's far from user-friendly. The encounter rate is super high and the difficulty is balanced in a very interesting way, I would say. Not that great. The games are fantastic and honestly, some of my favorites in all of Megami Tensei in general, not just Persona. So don't sleep on them. But for the reasons that I mentioned before, I just don't think they are great for someone who's new to the series. Persona 1 may be the first logical pick to a lot of you out there listening. And to be honest, it's not a bad pick, it depends on what you're looking for. Being the first game in the series, it explains the origins of certain elements in the series in a very in-depth way, and this is certainly great for a newcomer. But just like Persona 2, I think the gameplay is what may stop a newcomer from starting with P1, from enjoying Persona from the get-go. The game uses a first-person style for its dungeon. The battle system is also turn-based, but has a bunch of mechanics that didn't age too well in terms of modern-age JRPGs. The main appeal of Persona to most people nowadays, at least from what I can read in my comment sections and online in general, is the social links, the extravagant-looking characters and UI, the calendar system, and such. All of those elements are not in Persona 1, and Persona 1 in general is extremely different from what the series is in recent times, and for those reasons, I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting with this game. Alright, and finally, Persona 3. Persona 3 is easily the game that resembles my 2 picks the most. It has most of the elements that people like from P4 and 5, such as social links, and this is also where the calendar system originated. P3 was a massive change for the series going forward, and it shows. Although the dungeons designs are very bland, the music, while very good, can be pretty repetitive, I think this may not be very enjoyable to certain new people. In terms of gameplay, it's definitely more accessible than its 2 predecessors, but it is fairly lacking versus the later releases. all versions of Persona 3 utilizes the same combat system, whether you're playing vanilla, FES, or portable, except that portable offers the ability to control all your party members in battle, making it the version that resembles P4 and 5 the most in terms of gameplay. Just like P5, P3 will take over 100 hours to complete and takes a very long time to get good story-wise. Some of the better social links are locked until end game, and this may be a bummer to some of you all. The game doesn't explain its mechanics as well as Persona 4, but it still does a great job of introducing the players to what it has to offer as a game. Overall, not a bad game to start with, but for the reasons that I mentioned, not as good of a starting point as Persona 4 and 5. Now to the old Persona vets who watched this video, what would be your suggested playing order? Do you agree with my list? Drop a comment below and share your experience with us. I'd be very interested in reading your thoughts. If you're new to Persona, please don't be intimidated by all the games and by what the fans have to say online. The games are great and they deserve to be enjoyed by everyone out there. So do yourselves a favor, and no matter which game you start with, I think you will fall under the charm of Persona, as this is a fantastic video game series. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like, it really helps to support the channel. And if you want to stay up to date on any type of content, whether it's Atlas, Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, you are at the right place. You make sure to subscribe. Most importantly, ring that cute little notification bell, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, y'all. Bye.